Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be hopping back into it. Thank you so much for your patience as I ate like 2 oranges and some rice paper. Cool. Had my lunch. I'm good to go for another like 4 hours. Realistically, we do need to get going because we have, let's see, technically, so here's the story. We're hopping into Voltz versus puCK, and the two players did their vetoes and played out their games as if it was a best of 5, when realistically it was supposed to be a best of 3. So we're gonna do the best of 3, and hopefully everything will just be okay. And normally I would love to just commentate all of the games that happened, but just because WCS NA Challenger Day 2, which is the follow-up of all these players having played their games and actually getting to play to Day 2 and everything, the players that made it there, that's happening in about 3 hours. And we still have about 5 more series to get through. So we're going to probably just do a best of 3 and go with it. See where we can end up. So hopefully you guys don't mind that too much. We'll talk a bit about these two players. I mean, we've already kind of talked about them earlier on the broadcast. Voltz, still very much looking to prove something. Show how good he is. Take at least a game, if not a few games, off of some really good players. And I think that he's got an okay chance versus puCK. puCK is a very, very good player, very well recognized player, but I think again he does have some ups and some downs. And losers bracket puCK is usually not something that I expect to do incredibly well. I think winners bracket puCK, when I see puCK in the winners bracket and I see him maybe win 1 or 2 series, I just think, oh man, okay, puCK is playing on point today. He's feeling good. When I see puCK in the losers bracket, usually I think, oh, okay, you know, he doesn't have the momentum going in his favor anymore. So we'll find out how things go as we hop onto the map sequencer for game number 1. We'll see you guys there. Spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have the red Zerg player representing Dank Shine Pro. Give it up for Voltz. And his opponent spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Protoss player representing OSC Roots. Put your hands together for puCK. See Zelane talking about E3 in the chat. Well, you know what? Luckily, unlike E3, NA players don't disappoint. They will always do something you don't expect. Something will happen in the series that you will think, oh, I know how this game goes. I know what's going to happen over here. And then just madness will ensue. And that's one of my favorite things about watching North American players. But Voltz has got to do that to puCK, I think, in this game if he wants to be able to stage a comeback in the losers bracket. It always sucks. I mean, it's great. It's a great feeling to qualify for NA Challenger, but you're always hoping not just to get knocked out in the first round of the winners bracket and first round of the losers bracket. You really want to make that kind of big, deep run. Unfortunately, there will always be 4 players that get knocked out. First round winners, first round losers. But you never want to be one of them. You always want to believe that, you know, I do have the skill. I do have the ability to make a deep run, or at least make it even a few rounds, and I have what it takes to contend with the best. I didn't just kind of luck my way into this. So we'll see what Voltz can do. I have seen Voltz play for a long time, I would say, in the StarCraft 2 scene, and you know what? He is one of those players that I think has that potential to rise up and contend with a lot of those kind of top-level NA pros. We'll see what he can do versus puCK, who's going for what looks to be exactly the same kind of build that he did every single game versus game time, except for one of them where he went for Stargate, mostly because of the map. But it's going to be a Twilight Council. We're going to see 2 gateways being added on somewhere probably over probably over here to start creating a little bit of a wall off in case those rocks get knocked down. And then we're likely just going to be seeing Resonating Glaives come out. Yep, there's Resonating Glaives. See a couple additional gateways being added on after a Robo. So we'll see these 2 gateways, a Robo with a 3-gate Adept Warp Prism attack, and then just add on like 6 to 8 gateways and go for it. Well, 6 to 8 is a little bit extreme. 5 to 7, I would say. Excuse me. Oh, how is Voltz going to be able to deal with this? Game time, the way that he dealt with this was just getting up that kind of similarly timed Roach Warren. You handle the Adept harassment. You have to handle it relatively well. Make sure you don't take too much damage to that. And then after that, it's really just about moving out across the map and doing some really big damage with that big Roach army you've been mustering up. The Warp Prism can still be very annoying. You have to be on top of it with your queens. I think some of the games, Game Time, got a little bit lucky in sniping off that Warp Prism early on, as puCK kind of miscontrolled his Warp Prism a few times, ran them into the queens. But definitely not something you want to rely on. You really want to just be able to reliably use your own control to push back your opponent. And again, reminder, this is a best of 3. The players accidentally, without realizing the rules, played it out as a best of 5 and did their vetoes that way as well. Part of the reason why we may see Sequencer coming out for game number 1 in a PvZ, as I think, well, Pros players just in general don't seem to be liking the maps as a whole, not just Sequencer. But I imagine puCK will probably be picking something like Abyssal Reef for game number 2. This feels a lot to me more like Voltz's pick rather than puCK's. Adept's actually getting some pretty good damage done so far. Killing off a few of these Lings. Are going to get surrounded in the 3rd expansion, but make their way over to the main base. Encountering more Lings, but a reasonable number that they can take. There's still going to be some reinforcements coming out, but puCK is taking some pretty decent trades. 3 Adepts or 23 Lings. Oh my god, this is actually really cost effective. Even gets 2 workers as well. Warp Prism also joining the fray. And remember, all of those Lings, things that were not drones, so it's sitting at dead even worker counts, while puCK establishes a very safe 3rd expansion. Adds on those 5 gateways I was talking about earlier. He's going to pump out Immortals, has the 3 sentries. He's going to go for a big push out sometime, I think it happens around the 7 minute 30 second mark. I really should pay attention to the exact timing of that. Warp Prism getting thwarted for now, though. Not really making a whole lot happen. Doesn't even have any Adepts inside of it just yet. This puCK maybe just utilizing his Warpins back at home for now. Okay, but double Baneling Nest coming out. That's undoubtedly a mistake. We got 1 Baneling Nest. Where is the 2nd Baneling Nest? Okay, he cancels the 2nd Baneling Nest, realizing it, but maybe just going to show that Voltz is not feeling quite on point today. Especially after you lose a series in the winner's bracket, you always feel a little bit not as great as you did earlier. You go into the day, you kind of have these high expectations for yourself. You're like, you know what? Even if you don't have crazy high expectations for yourself, you're like, oh yeah, I'm probably just going to lose out in the first round of both things. Deep inside, you still have that kind of hope, that glimmer of hope that, you know what? Maybe I will defeat these guys. Maybe I will just kind of surprise everybody. And when it doesn't happen, you kind of end up and feel disappointed, and maybe you just don't play quite as well as you normally would. I hope that's not happening to Voltz. I hope that is just kind of a one-off mistake, making double Baneling Nest, and not a signal of something a little bit greater. But ooh, we see a bit of a mix-up. puCK traditionally has gone for the charge follow-up as an upgrade, and just continue to rally up more units, but now opting to go for double Stargate. I believe that this may just be because he saw the Spire. Yeah, he sees the Spire that's coming out right now from Voltz. Pretty atypical thing, I would say, to see in ZVP. That's not super atypical, but it's a less common thing, since the most common meta right now is just Ling Hydra. Adept's not quite able to make a whole lot of damage happen. puCK is able to pick up and get out of there, though, and should be on a more or less all-out retreat with that Warp Prism, with the Mutas now going to be popping out pretty soon. Double Phoenix production getting started. puCK is still making more immortals, though, because he still wants to go for a big ground attack. He knows that his opponent has invested a lot into these roaches and these ravagers. It's not going to be crazy numbers of mutas in numbers of 10 to 15 or 20. Oh, Baneling is actually rolling into the third expansion. Getting a good amount of damage done, killing off so far 8 workers and some more Banelings being made. And remember, these probes that have now been softened up that didn't quite die, these are going to be the ones that get one shot by the follow-up Banelings. puCK, though, immediately realizes, runs away his probes, and gets the photon overcharge with the photon cannon there. He's going to have no problem cleaning those up. Oh, Warp Prism gets sniped off. Nice pickup for Voltz, who is now sitting on a pretty comfortable 4-base economy. Again, sequencer, only 6 mineral patches over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1 gas. So, it's not an ideal economy, but the same thing will go true for puCK's own 4th expansion. He's not going to have a crazy amount of gas that he would normally have. It's just an easy-to-take safe 4th. But Mutants engaging versus Phoenix, never a good idea. In these kind of numbers, at least. Looks like puCK's going out for blood against for that one weakened up Muta. And Voltz is just going to try and make something happen. He's got a much larger army supply. He's sitting with +1 melee. And he's going to make a lot of Banelings. 1 disruptor shot can turn things around in an instant, though. And puCK is even leading the charge a little bit with that disruptor shot. Will Voltz realize that? I don't think he's seen anything that should tell him he's going to be facing off versus disruptors already. Because this is a pretty quick tech up into multiple different tech paths. But there is a very big disruptor hit. Not quite on the Banelings, but the Force Fields lock out a majority of them. Some of the Banelings start to creep on in. The Ravager shots do knock down a lot of the Force Fields. And a lot of puCK's army is starting to dissipate. The Immortals, the high-tech units still remain strong. And a good, okay disruptor connection locks down some of the units. All the disruptors have been taken out, but the Immortals do survive. Voltz has 42 Lings coming out behind this, but it's not going to be a lot of reinforcements coming out to follow up the attack. So it was sort of a worthwhile attack. He kills off a ton of the high-tech disruptors. Resets that disruptor count, which is important. Depowers one of the robos and slows down more disruptor production. Kills off a few workers. Brings puCK down to just 45. But now puCK has complete air superiority with these Phoenix. Can continue to maneuver around. Supply block Voltz potential. Well, okay, no danger of a supply block anytime soon. He's got 70 supply to work with. Even with all of these Overlords dying, he's still only just now dipping below 200 max out supply. Voltz really wants to get something done over here and clean up these Phoenix, push them back. He doesn't even have spore crawlers inside of all of his bases. He's gonna end up losing quite a few workers himself. puCK did a great job just kind of immediately counteracting a lot of the worker damage that he took from that big attack. And now he's gotten up 3 of his own disruptors. He's getting up a 4th, can start up a 5th when he wants to, but he's going into Psystorm now. He's gonna have all of that kind of massive late game Protoss Death Ball tech. He's got double Stargate if he really wants to drop down a Fleet Beacon, transition out into carriers. Something that I feel like it's been a little bit rare for me to see from puCK. He's got Disruptors. He's got Immortals. He's going to have High Templar. Only thing he's maybe kind of lacking is Void Rays, but he's got the Phoenix, so he's got that air superiority still. Oh, one Muta harass, killing off 4 workers so far. Not quite able to lock down the 5th. And Voltz is not doing too bad on his economy either. He's been able to bounce back from the worker loss. He's up to 70 workers again. He's taken quite a few bases, now up to his 5th expansion, and looking for a potential 6th maybe. He's got some creep spread going. Overlord setup. Could grab one at some point. Lurker Den going to be coming out, though, and this is going to be where it gets interesting, because if he gets out a large number of Lurkers, then puCK is going to be heavily reliant on these Disruptors to take care of them, but will he get to that point? Voltz seems like he wants to go in first, and he's already losing a handful of these Hydras to the Disruptor shots. That, combined with Storms, is going to make this an incredibly difficult angle to engage into. I like the fact that Voltz is split up between these two sides, though. If he knocks down this wall over here, he could actually bust into that 3rd expansion. Or I should say 4th expansion, whatever you want to call it. Lurker Den about to finish up. Voltz is about to get that big boost in tech he's been looking for. Not quite playing the same way that, say, a player like Silky would play. Where Silky in this situation, I guarantee you, there would be an infestation pit somewhere down. This would have been an infestation pit instead of a Lurker Den. And he would be getting up his hive tech right now, getting ready to transition into Brute Lords as fast as possible. But Voltz a little bit more content to play on lair tech. puCK again, I think a player that has shown that he is a little bit more willing also to not go up to the massive Death Fleet, the Air Toss army, for a lot longer than many other Protoss will. And because of that, I actually feel as though Lurkers may not be the worst option. You also notice that the lack of observers, there's only one observer over here, and it's on the wrong side. Oh, big disruptor hit, killing off quite a few of the banelings, but Lurkers start to get burrowed in a really nice spot. They're all very clumped up, though. Storm plus Photon Overcharge taking care of some of them. Where is that observer, though? He needs that observer. The observer's right over here. He just needs to move over. He's going to start losing his cybernetics core soon. The rest of the army for Voltz starting to move forward, trying to get a good engagement, having to back up, but some more storms available. Problem is, storms just really don't do enough damage. Observer finally, number 2 pops out, cleans up these lurkers, and salvages the cybernetics core. Voltz is sitting out maxed out army supply, though, and has another expansion. I believe this is his 6th base. Holy lurkers, Batman. Okay, well, these lurkers still doing some damage. They will eventually get cleaned up by the Phoenix. But immediately gonna be replaced by even more. puCK was sitting on the low ground there, so it didn't even catch wind of all those lurkers being made. I love that Voltz just keeps splitting up his units like this. A beautiful 2-way spread out. Sends a bunch of lings over straight into the main base. Can start depowering some of these pylons. This is an Artosive pylon if I've ever seen one. Powering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gateways and a, well, the photon cannon may have been powered by this one too, but definitely some good damage can happen over there. Ling's also trying to flood in over here, but this should be handled relatively quickly. It's going to be about these banelings busting in over to this location. A nice wall-in is going to prevent this from doing too much damage, though. Taking out some of the photon cannons is kind of nice. 1 baneling kills 1 probe. Oh, a couple of those lings survived and managed to make their way over to this base. Killing off some of the workers over there. Photon cannon can take care of both of those banelings, though. Voltz is playing so damn well right now. I actually am a huge fan of this. Has to be a little bit careful. He has been sacrificing quite a few units, but he has an economy to sacrifice units with. Oh, okay. Well, puCK also sacrificing a few stalkers over there on a move command. Let's see. Look at this lurker count. Look at that lurker count. 17 lurkers. And still no infestation pit or a hive. This is definitely not Silky. Okay, well, I suppose they could probably one-shot these rocks or something with this many lurkers. But no, instead, just going to situate over here. There are still some disruptors around, so he needs to spread out these lurkers relatively well. This is, okay, he's starting to spread them out a little bit more. This is actually a pretty, it's not like a crazy amazing spread, but it's good spread. It's a pretty good spread. Oh, looks like some banelings also ran into that expansion. Getting some good damage done. More lings run in. Taking out an immortal that pops out. Another immortal is going to be popping out over here at the 3rd. +3 weapons getting close to finishing. Voltz is starting to push on further forward. He wants to get more damage done. Lurkers are well enough spread out that the disruptors can't just one-shot all of them. Well, almost gets all of them. But if he takes care of the photon cannon, there's not a whole lot to fucking do. Doesn't quite get it. puCK is on the outside of the map with his army, in case you were wondering where that was. And Voltz has to pull back now. But he's doing an insane amount of damage. The problem is he needs a way to contest this army of puCK. In a straight-up base trade, these lurkers will eventually kill everything. But I don't know if he'll kill everything fast enough. Okay, here we go. Voltz is just charging forward with all of the lurkers and all of these banelings. Observers remain strong. Oh, Archon goes down. Still doing more damage with these lurkers. Would love to see it move over to the main base, start taking out some of that tech. Was the Cybernex core ever remade? Oh no, it's just being remade right now. puCK can only warp in zealots off of his kind of meager economy. He does still have that robot alive. I don't know if he still has the robotics bay alive. Yeah, he does. He can still make disruptors. Okay, here we go. Another base gonna be taken out. Oh, this is cute. Situating the lurkers on the high ground, gonna make it almost impossible for puCK to actually engage against these lurkers. It's gonna be hard to notice as well. Oh, really good storms coming down. Some disruptor shots could also lock down a ton of these hydras and lurkers. Get some okay hits. Should be able to clean majority of them up. The lurkers and the lings, well, it looks like mostly just the hydras and the lings, make their way into the main base, depowering most of the warp gates. This is a full-on base trade, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, these lurkers are so difficult for puCK to deal with, but he has so many photon cans. I think he actually has enough to hold on over here. I don't believe that Voltz can actually win this anymore. Like, as long as puCK doesn't make a big mistake, these disruptors will continue to whittle away at the lurkers. Voltz's economy is literally 0. Okay, well, he still has 4 mineral patches mining. Good for you, man. He can bring his army together, take out the, oh my god, take out that Templar Archives. Disruptors starting to kill off the final couple of lurkers. One of the only potential fresher bases being taken out also, but puCK is still mining from this one. It's not in crazy healthy mining anymore. He's only got, what, 12 workers worth of mining, and some of these mineral patches are getting pretty low, but this is going to be it. The remainder of Voltz's army finally gets caught. He loses a good chunk of it. And with 4 observers, even hopes of maybe taking those guys out and using lurkers to win, it's not going to happen. Voltz just cannot reproduce his army anymore. I think that is the ultimate problem. It was a really valiant effort. I mean, this was a crazy, crazy close game. Absolute madness. I love the multi-pronged aggression from Voltz. Really clearly, I mean, just watching the minimap, I almost just want to go through and rewatch only the minimap this game to see all those different places that Voltz was segmenting off units, but... well, 2 lurkers. Pushing back the entire army. This is going to be it. He buys time with lurkers now. GG gets called. puCK. There it is. puCK takes game number 1 in this best of 3. Okay, well, we get ready to hop into game number 2. I really do think that this can be a very close series, though. Voltz showed that if he can get into that more comfortable late game situation, granted, I think lurkers were an interesting decision to go for that number of lurkers. It can backfire very easily. The disruptors ended up eventually dealing with it, even if he did a lot of damage. I think that he failed to take out a majority of the army of puCK. puCK did a good job of just kind of circumventing what Voltz kept throwing at him. We get ready to hop into game number 2. It's going to be on Odyssey, so we'll see you guys there. Here we are hopping into game number 2 in this best of 3 from the losers round 1. We're starting down here in the bottom right hand corner of the map. Top of the red Zerg player from Dank Shrine Pro. Give it up for Voltz. Looking to stage a comeback in the series against his opponent. Up here in the top left hand corner of the map, the blue Protoss player from OSC Root. Setting up 1-0. Give it up for puCK. Already starting to make few more mistakes. That's what happens when you stay up till 2 in the morning watching Gundam Wing and then get up at 8 in the morning to start casting StarCraft. I think I'm also on what is this? That's only hour 4. Or I guess now moving into hour 5. Not actually that crazy bad. So puCK, in that last game, looked like he was going to go for the same sort of style that he was going for in some of the previous games versus Game Time. Going for 1-gate Twilight Council, Research Resonating Glaives, add on 2 more gateways, 3-gate Adept Pressure with a Warp Prism, add on 5 more gateways, and just go for broke with Immortals, Sentries, and Adepts. But that last game, he scouted out the Spire with his Adepts. He had to react a little bit differently than he probably normally would have liked to, getting up the double Stargate, pumping out a bunch of Phoenix, but he was able to take almost good control of the game. It ended up kind of going back and forth with the Lurkers coming out. Voltz got some really sick engagements. But I do wonder what it'll look like in a probably more normal game. I have to imagine that Voltz isn't going to go for that Muta play again. The Mutas can be so hit or miss in the matchup. And puCK seemed to react to them very well. Those Mutas did next to nothing for Voltz. Okay, Adept makes its way in. We do have, yes, Resonating Glaives coming on out. Shady's going to get canceled, though. puCK just playing a little bit more conservatively. Can't even wait for that second Adept to join the fray. Although the second Adept just going to sit at home for now. puCK has not scouted out the 3rd base location and identified that it is over at the gold expansion. He's, in fact, even going to be sending that Adept all the way back home. And this may be a bit of a mistake. If he doesn't identify this, he may fall a little bit further behind by playing a bit too passively. Granted, this is always going to, again, be followed up by the 3-gate Adept Pressure, so he's not looking to play too passively. He's going to be moving in back and forth. He's going to notice what's happening. These drones need to go back to the hatchery. Taking a long way back. Okay, Roachborn coming out. Well, time to start pumping out a few Roaches. Maybe just a little bit later, just because the gold expansion doesn't immediately pay off, as you have a lot of workers that have to transfer a good distance away, so it can delay your build by maybe 10 or so seconds. But eventually you do get that nice little mineral income boost. Okay, Spinecrawler also coming down. Seems like he's aware of the potential for Adepts to just make their way into the gold if they scout that out. But again, puCK, he may not identify quickly enough that that gold expansion was taken. Roaches are already starting to come out. Seems like some of them have just now popped and are making their way to the main base. puCK is going to move down over here to the low ground. Let's 1 Adept Shade finish up in the main base. Or in the natural expansion, I should say. And puCK moves down with some of these Adepts and doesn't actually see a 3rd expansion now. So you might be wondering what the heck is going on. He backs up with some of these Adepts. He honestly gets a lot of them cleaned up. His push has not really gone super well for puCK so far. He's grabbing his own 3rd expansion, of course, behind this. And there are some of these additional gateways we were talking about, going up to 5 gateways. Voltz is looking to get a bit aggressive with some of these Lings, but there's a lot of Adepts out. Probably best off just trying to force out some Fletch and overcharges. There's one. Not going to go for a second. Oh, but Roach is joining the fray as well. Interesting. Is he going to go after the Cybernetics Core? These Lings just funneling into Adepts. I don't think this is the best angle to engage into. Yeah, okay. Backs up. Like, Voltz, you did a good job defending against the Adept pressure. Just don't throw it away, man. Okay, well, there is some Warp Prism harassment inside the main base, so that might be part of the reason why. Lost focus for a little bit. Warp Prism does manage to survive as the Queen gets taken out by the Adepts. Handful of workers have been killed off. 9 workers killed so far as the Adepts continuing to kill more and more. Spinecrawler going up, and the Warp Prism will pick up what few Adepts it can. Make its way over to this low ground expansion. But now puCK has got to be realizing, okay, wait a second. This expansion's only just now finishing. Hold the frickin' phone. Warp Prism does get taken out. So all these Adepts, I was going to say are trapped, but then I remember there are Adepts they can shade on out of here. Had a little bit more damage happening inside the main base, but they do shade out safely. I wonder if they're going to go over to the gold. The gold has almost been mined out at this point, so it wouldn't be the hugest deal in the world if Voltz ends up losing this. In fact, Voltz can now go down to this expansion as a 5th to replace that gold income. Guarantee wants to be careful about how fast he does that. puCK is just barely starting to mine from his own 3rd expansion. And there is going to be that big attack we were talking about. 2 additional gateways coming out, bringing them up to a total of 9 warp gates. With sentries, immortals, and the resonating glaives upgrade. If puCK is playing as he has been playing recently, we're going to be seeing charge also come out as well. Although, interesting, I feel like he did get a much faster +1 weapons in some of these previous games. I wonder if he just got set back a little bit, scared by the big attack that Voltz threatened with, even though Voltz didn't do a whole lot. Playing a little bit extra safe and defensive, not mining from your 3rd quite as quickly. Well, that first round of 9 warp gate warp-ins should be ready pretty soon, as soon as he warps in these other 2 warp gates. But more resonant engraved adept harassment inside the main base. Oh, up to 21 workers killed. But Voltz is still staying, I won't say super strong at 60, but 54 workers, it's not ideal. But that gold base income is starting to mine pretty dry, so he's getting some additional benefit from that. Starting to mine pretty effectively over here, and you can even start thinking about that 5th expansion sometime in the next few minutes. The Ling Hydra army is now ready with a couple of roaches just mixed in. Just a few. And there are the banelings. It's going to be very reliant on where Voltz takes the engagement. If puCK gets a good spot where it can easily force field out the army, say somewhere around this ramp or something. Oh god, puCK lets all the lings into this, or a bunch of lings into his main base, and his natural is going to be losing a ton of units. The banelings just roll in into the army. The 0 force fields used. Oh, they're all used so late. A ton of the sentries end up dying. A ton of the adepts end up dying. More and more, the workers are going to end up falling as well. Seems like a couple of adepts in the main base do manage to clean up the lings that managed to run by, but Voltz cleans up a lot of the scary parts of the army for puCK. And he can just go home, defend against this harassment that's been very annoying. I mean, puCK has done a substantial amount of damage with these worker kills, don't get me wrong. Like, can he actually do anything that's really threatening a base? Can he really do anything that threatens Voltz losing the game immediately? Or can Voltz just expand and maybe tech up a little bit more? Get up that lurker den if he really wants to. I think he has a lot of leeway to work with right now. Instead, he is going to be just making non-stop units and working his way across the map, making a ton more banelings. And maybe trying to just kill off that 3rd. He senses blood. But Disruptor number 1 is out. Disruptor number 2 is on the way. As we have double Robo, producing 2 Disruptors at a time. Lings try and go for another flood into the main base. Not going to be so lucky this time, but puCK misses. Well, not misses a force field. Just doesn't quite trap in all of the lings. Oh, got the banelings sneaking their way in once again, killing off all of the sentries. Disruptor shot completely whiffs up on the high ground. And even if this connects with a ton of Hydras, and it does, Voltz has already taken a worthwhile engagement. Literally just cleaning up all of these immortals, flooding out these units, taking out all these workers. Voltz is so far ahead right now, sitting up almost double the supply. And puCK, I mean, he put up a valiant effort, but oh god, losing all of those, not getting the force fields down in time. This is what I was talking about. It really matters where you take the engagement, but also how occupied you are with maybe some war prism harassment you were trying to do across the map. Maybe you just were a little bit too busy trying to send a couple of workers to start mining over the third. Put some guys on gas. Even the smallest little difference can make or break the difference in these engagements. Okay, well, a couple more Lings just streaming on forward. Fighting a sentry over the wall, so not going to be able to do a whole lot. These Lings also getting picked off, so puCK is starting stage of something that I might call a comeback. No game is ever over with a Protoss that has even 3 disruptors. I was going to say 2, but 3 is even more. He's not making any more because he can't actually afford to make too many more right now. I think he realizes he needs some actual beef to this army as well. But 22 Banelings coming out. If puCK can somehow predict the exact time that these Banelings are going to start charging in and use a disrupt shot to obliterate them, I will still give puCK a really good chance in this game, but can't do that. Oddly enough, Voltz didn't actually make a Lurker Den. He didn't take a 5th expansion. He's very heavily committed to actually winning right here. And puCK is doing some nice adept harassment. Again, it's not about the workers killed here. It's more about forcing his opponent to come back home and buying puCK more time to get up more gateway units, get up some more sentries, build up energy on these sentries. Okay, disruptors ready to fire. There's still a full wall. He warps in another sentry. He can force field as well if he needs to. Well, there's nothing over here for Voltz to kill. puCK is doing a good job holding. He's still down almost 40 supply. But here we go. Disruptor hits could be big over here. Charge, though, charging into the Banelings, actually doing pretty well. puCK does not have a whole lot of probes left over here. Looks like they're mostly sitting inside the main base. Well, I guess he only has 39 to work with. Ling trying to go for another run by, but once again, the force field is ready. Also, the pylons might get taken out. Defowers 1 warp gate. Not that puCK can afford to warp in on all 10 warp gates right now and produce out of the robo and tech up a Templar Archives. Oh, that's a pretty juicy disruptor hit. Killing a lot of the Banelings. Another good one. And puCK is turning this around. That is all 3 of his disruptors, though. They're all on cooldown for a little bit longer. Still some good force fields. He has a few more to work with. Bludgeon Overcharge also adding in. Oh, but the Banelings make their way into the mineral line, killing off even more of those workers. The 2 disruptors manage to survive, and oh god, killing off more. The Banelings doing their damage, and Voltz once again takes another lead. But there's still no 5th. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really becoming a problem. Voltz, I feel like he's throwing away a potentially, I won't say won game, but a huge lead by not taking a 5th. Do these adepts just keep killing a drone that's trying to take a 5th expansion or something? Surely something has to be happening over here. There's a warp prism getting ready to warp in some more units and try and put on some harassment. I might pull Voltz back once again and buy puCK even more time. Lings repeatedly trying to test that wall. Voltz really wants that run by. He wants it so badly. But seriously, Voltz, you need to expand. Okay, this is going to be the big final hurrah, I think, for Voltz. Oddly enough, puCK actually has a mining economy because he hasn't been mining from that base. Okay, disruptors are starting to get taken out by the Banelings. I believe that they're all on cooldown right now, although one of them will be off of cooldown soon. Photon Overcharge is not going to be enough. And Voltz, with the final push, does break through, does take out the Motion Core, and gets the game. GG gets called. Series is tied up 1-1. Okay, well, that was a hell of a game. puCK almost staged a massive comeback in that game. Voltz does eventually win in the end, although he gives me a damn heart attack in the process of it. But okay, we'll get ready to move into game number 3 to hop onto Abyssal Reef. We'll see you guys there. Here we are, match point, as we start down in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, on top of the red Zerg player who just took his first WCS Challenger game in his entire career. Give it up for Dank Shrine's Voltz. And his opponent spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map. Tried and true champion of the past. Give it up for OSC puCK. Looking to close this out and move on to his next round opponent. Abyssal Reef, a map that I think a lot of pro players feel very comfortable on. It's got a lot of these nice little choke points to utilize those force fields, especially in the current meta. And the way that puCK has been playing, I think he'll very much like this map. And of course, it's very easy to take your third and even fourth expansion. Fifth expansion can get a little bit dicey. I think that's where things really start to become a bit problematic, because opponent can run up over here with a bunch of lings. They can run through over here, knocking down these rocks, and they can run up over here, going up to the natural, or just sniping off that base as it's building. But up to at least 4 bases, I think a lot of pro players will feel very, very comfortable. Now, Voltz has been going for these very, very quick lurker tech plays, and, well, I won't say very quick lurker tech plays, but it seems like in game number 1, he really loves the lurkers, and he loves going for the Ling Bling Hydra, but it seems like he does also have that transition in mind, as opposed to the transition that you oftentimes see, which is Infestation Pit, Spire, Hive, let's go Broodlords. I do actually think the Broodlord play is a little bit stronger versus a player like puCK, who, again, is a bit more resistant to go into the massive Stargate army. Maybe we'll make a few Void Rays, or of course get up a double Stargate to pump out some Phoenix. But I rarely see him go into the big Carrier or Tempest armies to deal with Broodlords. He's oftentimes the player that just tries to hit a big timing before the Broodlords get into massive numbers, and just blink under them to kill them off. But it's heavily reliant on taking a good engagement, a favorable engagement even. Oh, Adept almost gets picked off. 5 health remaining, but doesn't have any kills. Really nice job from Voltz cleaning that up already. But yeah. I don't know how Voltz has 7 army supply though. Okay, he's still 6 Zerglings. Right, Queens. Right? Maybe, yeah. I'm just not used to seeing an odd number for that low of a number. Okay, but we have a Roach Warren on the way. Ready to clean up any kind of 3-gate adept pressure, which, oh, by Jove, I think we've got 3-gate adept pressure. With a Robo coming out and a Warp Prism to follow this up. And nobody in the world was surprised. Adept shade their way across the map. And Voltz should have more than enough of these Roaches out in time. It's really going to be, again, about the positioning. Some of these games, Voltz has taken a decent amount of damage to the Adepts. I believe it was game 1. He actually took a relatively decent amount of damage. Maybe like 8 to 10 work kills. Game number 2, he did a great job of cleaning it up, though. Barely took anything. Or maybe I'm mixing up the games. Either way, though, puCK goes for the split up on these Adepts. Once again, the Adepts in the main base get immediately surrounded. Adepts in the natural, not accomplishing a whole lot, but the Adepts in the third finding a little bit more damage. 4 workers killed, but now they are going to get potentially surrounded and killed as the Lings are still giving chase. puCK just tries to take the best engagement trade he can with these Adepts, but all of them will end up losing their lives before even trying to send out a shade. Not even worth the APM, says puCK. Adds on 2 more gateways. Adds on a 3rd gateway, 4th gateway. Alright. I think I know what's happening. We got only 37 workers, though, and Voltz is going ham on that Ling production. Going ham on the 3rd expansion, forcing a cancel even. But it's not over just yet. A couple of Lings do make their way in past the force field. Force field also gets knocked down by the Corrosive Bile, but none of these sentries are dying just yet. Immortal getting very low. Fortune Overcharge is very, very helpful. puCK is doing a great job with the micro over here. The Warp Gate does get depowered. It's going to cut into his production a little bit, but all of those gateways are about to finish up. Another pylon getting Voltz overcharge, and I think that puCK is starting to hold on over here. Moisture Core is going to have enough energy for another Voltz overcharge in a matter of seconds. But puCK, with a 3-worker lead, does hold on. He lost his third. But Voltz made nothing but more units behind this. He's still looking to go all in on this. And now puCK has all of these warp gates to work with. Off of 2 bases, he can turn this into a giant 8-gate all-in. I say 8-gate because he still has, yeah, there. And 8-gate. Boom. Dark Shrine coming up behind. Oh, God, this is not a complete wall anymore. He lost the pylon. And now the sentry's also getting surrounded. Voltz is running rampant through the base. And puCK in a bit of trouble. He's sitting down supply. He's not mining right now, but he still is on an even worker count. Adept's not creating a full wall up. They are going to get surrounded. The one Immortal adding in some extra DPS. The Mothership Core does not have enough energy to Voltz and overcharge. The Immortal going to hold position over at the wall. puCK needs to get a pylon over here or something, even if it just is there to buy time. A Dark Shrine is also on the way, and puCK is doing some damage with Adepts on the other side of the map. That's part of the reason why he doesn't have as many warpins as you would have expected. But not killing a crazy large number of units. Double Immortals. Okay, he's going for the full wall off over here. He's got some sentries as well. Is he going to try and take the third? This is the big danger situation. You have to make a judgment call. Is my opponent making more units, or are they droning and trying to take another expansion behind this? Answer is Voltz is still just making more units. puCK getting caught, fully surrounded, cannot make his way back into the wall, and Voltz and overcharge is used though. Salvages one Immortal's life, but for how much longer? Cybernex Core is going to get taken out. The Dark Shrine is finished though. puCK with a Warp Prism. He's going to make his way across the map, just trying to counter damage. Maybe warping a DT over there. He warps in one DT back at home. He's starting to get broken, but this one DT may be able to do the work it needs to. Start killing off some of these Ravagers. The Zealot's also trading relatively efficiently versus these Ravagers. And I think that puCK is doing it. He's starting to hold again. Immortal gets picked up by the Warp Prism. Some beautiful micro, and puCK holds. On the other side of the map, the third expansion is going to start to get whittled away at by the DT. There's no lair for Voltz. He needs to build a Spore Crawler, walk it over here, burrow it, and then kill the DT. And I don't think there's just not enough time. The Spore Crawler is too far away. He's not okay. Oh, he's unburrowing one of them, but it's. Oh, he does. He gets a full surround. He's using the Corrosive Biles to also buy some time. Spore Crawler. Oh, God, the creep isn't connected. It's burrowing. It's going to be close. It's going to be such a close finish. 4 hit points. He gets it. Oh, my God. And with that, another Spore Crawler that needs to be made, or at least that same Spore Crawler needs to run its way back. Run. Run. Oh, God, the damage is being done right now. These DTs may have just won the game. A beautiful hold from puCK. He does such an awesome job. The Immortal even comes in, trying to focus fire down the Spore Crawler. He's going to be able to kill it in time. The DT survives. And puCK, I think that's it. I think that's game. 3 more DTs get warped in. puCK can just right-click down all of these drones. He doesn't even need a third expansion right now. I mean, he might be able to take one. He could probably afford to take one. He takes out the queens that are trying to kill the Warp Prism. Oh, Mortal survives. Overseer's finally made as the lair is finished. Legend Overcharge used to try and take out some of these Lings, but the Zealot's going to have to give chase. They do not have a Zealot speed upgrade. Looks like these Lings will win out the fight. No, Ling's just barely losing. So more Lings run into the natural expansion, but puCK is now sitting at 48 workers to 39 and is continuing to take better and better trades. Voltz is still sitting on a 2-base economy. And puCK's economy is just straight up stronger. He has a better army. He has a better transition point to take a third expansion. And this is it. The Desperation Spire coming out from Voltz to keep his WCS NA Challenger life alive. puCK has to be a bit careful not to overcommit to anything, but he's still got a Warp Prism. He can actually just move out across the map with a Warp Prism and do that kind of patented Archon drop harassment. Well, there's one Archon. And there's the second Archon. Yeah, he's got more than enough units back at home to defend this. He could also get upcharged with how many Zealots he's been making. Oh, he's not mining gas from his natural. That's why he's... Okay, yeah, now he's starting to put guys back there. I'm gonna say that might explain some of these mass Zealot Warpins, despite having resonating glaives. Maybe just lacking some of the gas for the Warpins. Especially since he's been making so many DTs. But the Archon's moving in, killing off a few workers. Dropping out, popping back in. Oh, gets the drones as they're stacked up. Oh god, it's a massacre. puCK's Warp Prism Micro, something to be feared. One Ravager, as puCK realizes, wait a second, you just actually don't have anything here. Warps in a massive round of Zealots. Don't need +1 weapons upgrades to take that fight, with some Archons backing him up. 15 kills, 14 kills, and that is going to be all she wrote. Voltz sitting down at 40 supply to 130. puCK has taken a third. Voltz is... he has a third, technically. Oh, the Mutas. I think the last remaining hope that Voltz was waiting on in some desperation attempts, hoping, oh, maybe you won't make Stalkers. Maybe you just won't have noticed that I made Mutas. I can get away with this, but now even the Archons can clean up these Mutas. As I try and focus fire down the Warp Prism. Even struggling to get that. Gonna sacrifice some of their lives for it. There's literally zero mining. Okay. This is the only mineral patch being mined from. GG. Well played. puCK takes game number 3. Takes the series 2-1 and advances on to the losers round 2. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. What a crazy, crazy series. puCK does so well in those super duper scrappy games. I always love watching that. A fantastic hold from puCK. I really didn't think he was going to be able to make that work, but he did. Our next series, though, as we get ready to hop into that, is going to be Silky versus QXC, still from the losers round 1. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. WCS NA Challenger Day 2 starts in about 2.5 hours. So we still got 4 more series to work our way through. We're going to try and move fast. Hop to a short break so I don't just lose my voice. And I'll see you guys in a little bit. Thank you so much for watching.